And once you start doing a certain thing in college, you'll see a lot of those opportunities because you'll be around people who are upperclassmen and have already taken advantage. Like the program in Jordan, some upperclassmen friends were the first ones to tell me about it because they had done it previously. Or professors too, you'll take classes with the same professors or in the same department, and they'll tell you about opportunities. So as much as I would recommend exploring in college and using the time to take classes that you were like, I've never tried this out, it could be interesting. I took some evolutionary anthropology classes, and bonobos are really cool animals. If you don't know what a bonobo is, it's not just a monkey. And I highly encourage looking at them. They're super cute. They're way better than chimpanzees. Chimpanzees are crazy. I would rather be in a lion's den at a zoo than a chimpanzee fortress, because that's
a lot of primates are very terrifying. I feel like the public doesn't fully understand how terrifying most primates are. They're incredibly dangerous.
But bonobos are super friendly.
But bonobos are very friendly.
Yeah, so I learned that in my evolutionary anthropology class. So totally worth taking. And I took some journalism classes, which I didn't necessarily know I would do. So there's time to do both in college. There's time to definitely go down that path of something you're interested in, which is what led me to a lot of my opportunities. And that also goes to say, we've spoken a lot about flexibility. And one of the things I would say is if you go into college and you're going to do a program, for example, that has really rigid requirements, and the classic example is if you want to do pre-med. There's a lot more classes that you generally need to satisfy pre-med or maybe engineering than to satisfy public policy, just because you have a lot of science classes to take. And like, whereas I could take a public policy class for some of them, that was like, just take anything history related. That's cross-listed as public policy and history. Obviously, it's okay, take organic chemistry. Nothing else is really an option. Organic chemistry it is. And so if you go in like that and know, for example, that you want to study abroad for a semester, then I would really encourage you to make sure you check out things earlier rather than later, because otherwise you might get off track and not be able to complete your requirements in the time you want. And so really planning that out with someone early, and then because they might say you are going to need to take an extra class this semester, which is totally doable, but you just need to know in advance rather than later. And also, I will say, if you're doing programs like that are more strict, it is still totally possible to study abroad, even in a more traditional semester-long format if you want. There are study abroad programs that cater specifically to people who want to study more of those hard sciences, and you can go to a place where you continue that. Or you can go to a place, if you plan it, and do stuff totally not related to your program. So if you're like, I really just cannot do any of this prepping to be a doctor thing for a little bit, let me just have a semester to go tour a bunch of museums and take art history, then if you plan it, you can do it. But sooner rather than later is definitely my recommendation. You also sometimes have to sort out visas and that sort of thing. And they have all the deadlines set so that they're not going to let you miss your opportunity. They're not going to be like, you should have had a visa already. They will definitely help you out with that. But it's worth noting too that a lot of these start earlier than you would think. If you want to study abroad, like I did my junior fall, then you're going to be applying to the program before then. And at least for us, for my application, it was pretty simple. They just wanted to make sure that I'd taken some French classes already. Due to the nature of the program, it wasn't for people who hadn't taken any before, though there are programs for people who have never touched the language before. And that's totally okay. And then just a couple questions about why I wanted to do it. Generally, at least for that program, they accepted basically everyone who applied and actually showed an interest, but you had to start early because you had to and all that fun things. So
yeah, absolutely. I think your point about deadlines, yeah, super well said. I was even going to take things in that direction a little bit, and you totally absolutely led us there 100%. If you're studying abroad in the summer, if you're trying to do a study abroad program over the summer, chances are that application process will be in your second semester, maybe early in the spring. If you're studying abroad in the spring, that process might be in the fall. It's, again, like Alex said, if you need to get something like a visa or need to fill out certain forms, the study abroad office will make sure that you're on those deadlines. But you need to make sure that if you have an idea of what you want to do and the time frame of when you want to do it, go to the office and say, hey, I'm a first year. Maybe in your first semester, you might go to them and say, hey, I would love to do a summer study abroad. What types of programs exist for summer study abroad? When are the deadlines? And they'll say, okay, you just started your first year. This is when the deadlines are. This is what you need to do. So if you want to study abroad and you get a sense of the scope of what you want to do, then get in touch with the office early just so they can make sure you're on the right track. Or again, if you don't know yet, you're undecided, you might go to your study abroad office and say, hey, I want to study abroad. I think it might be related to this language. Not totally sure what options are available. And that's always a good place to start. Again, we tell you 1,000 times, it's okay to be undecided when you go to college. That applies to study abroad as well. You might come from somewhere in the US and have never left the country before, and you don't know where you want to go or specifically what you want to do. All you know is, I would really love the opportunity to travel in college. And the colleges will say, okay, sure. Any idea of what you want to do or the time frame of when you would want to do that? Let us make you aware of the types of opportunities that exist, and we can make sure that you're on the right timeline so you can apply to those and make those possible.